All right, tonight's lesson is the final one in Wisdom and Wealth. It's two-part. The first part, how to teach kids about finances, and the second part, how to protect your kids, whether they be grown or still in the house if there is the parents passing. So protecting those that you leave behind, end of life type issues. So kind of a two-part one, but they connect. So got a question for everybody to start off. How prepared were you to make financial decisions when you left your parents' home? And Lisa's laughing.
I moved in with Lisa because I wasn't safe at home. So technically, I really wasn't financially ready the
You
first
weren't
time
prepared.
I left. Well,
Mhm.
yeah, I kind of was because I was still working at Liberty Mutual, and I got paid a decent amount of money so I can give your mom money and pay my car and stuff.
Mhm.
But
So
So,
you learned some of the adult stuff.
oh yeah, her mom taught me.
well, I'm glad she taught one of us.
Well,
She-
no, I mean, you know what? You
Listen,
can't talk ill of the dead, okay?
I can when she's my mom. My mother taught me how to pay bills, but not really balance a checkbook or plan, or I knew how to pay bills and spend money.
Okay. So it came in, it went out. That's about all you knew. Okay.
Yeah, I knew how to checkbook. I learned that from an early age. Pay bills, yeah, but I didn't know how to. My mom would just tell me, "Oh, marry a rich guy. You don't have to worry about money."
My mom said the same thing to me. She always used to say to me, marry someone who's rich, because if you don't, you're in trouble.
Yeah,
That's what she would-
my mother too.
there's, there's the financial education we received, Melody. Marry someone rich.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what we
Yeah.
both got.
I didn't get too much financial education, although, we would get some money and we were taught to tithe on it, and we were taught to save some of it and to, when we spend wisely, because my parents both came out of the Depression era. So they were pretty frugal and didn't have a lot to share with us either. So the frugality and the savings, the giving, all of that, but not the other stuff, not the bills that they were paying or
Mm.
anything like that I had to learn on my own. And if you think about it, a lot of families depend on school teachers to teach it to their kids. They figure the teachers have them for 18 to 22 years, and they should teach them something about that, how to live. But the reality is that they might get a few hours in those 18 to 22 years. Definitely not sufficient. Definitely not a godly perspective. So learning how to handle money is part of a child's education that the parents need to give to them and not depend on school teachers to do it.
Amen.
So
I think that's what they should have taught instead of sex ed.
yeah, well,
True.
that's getting taught even kindergarten these days.
Oh
So,
my God, I can't with people.
yeah, it's crazy. So Proverbs 22:6 applies to this. Start children off on the way they should go, and even when they are old, they will not turn from it. We've heard it used in a lot of different ways. Train a child in the ways they should go, and they won't depart from it, is the King James. But the reality is that what the parents teach the kids, if it's really taught to them well and they're experienced with what you're teaching them, it sets the pattern, it sets the foundation for their life. And teaching them about finances, and the wisdom behind why certain things should be done, that is a parent's responsibility. So if you want curriculum to use with your teens or with young kids, there's curriculum by the Crown Ministries, which is what this lesson material on children is coming from. There's two courses, one for 8 to 12-year-olds and one for 7 and younger, that Crown Ministries provides that you can get from them. The older kids is called The Secret, and the 7 and younger is called The ABCs of Handling Money God's Way. But those are both available to use as curriculum. I would assume you could just Google them and find a place to get them. They can be done one-on-one or as a class. They can be done as children's church for that matter. If if the children's church people run out of the current curriculum, they could teach that. So our first section, parents' responsibility. It needs to be verbally communicated. And Deuteronomy 6:6-7 talks about that. Actually has a broader context too. So think about Deuteronomy 6:6-7 in the broadest context.
Would you like me to read it for you, Mel?
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. These words that I am giving you today are to be in your heart. Repeat them to your children. Talk about them when you sit in your house and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up.
Okay. The information that's in the Bible, the stuff that God wants us to know, he wants us to communicate to our children, to our kids, and to make it a part of life. So whatever we're doing, incorporate teaching. That's what Deuteronomy 6:6-7 is saying. The second one is model financial faithfulness. We're told by Paul in 1 Corinthians 11:1, be imitators of me just as I also am of Christ. So we are to be imitating Christ. We are to be imitating the good examples that we see. And we in turn are to be the good examples to our kids. We are to be the models. And another verse there, Luke 6:40. Somebody got it? You're muted.
Which one is it?
I don't understand why it doesn't work then.
Luke 6:40.
Luke 6:40. Okay, let's see. A disciple is not above his teacher, but everyone who is perfectly trained will be like his teacher.
All right. Other translations say everyone after he's been fully trained will be like his teacher. What is that telling us?
A disciple would be the student, correct?
The disciple is the student. That's like the 12 men that followed Jesus around to learn from him. Yeah.
A disciple is not above his teacher. We're no
Not
better.
above the teacher.
So the teacher is no better than the disciple, and the disciple is no better than the teacher.
And ultimately, if the teacher is doing a good job, the disciple will end up being like the teacher
Or better, if they're
Or
doing a
better.
really good job.
or better. And so that could be summed up in, we can teach what we believe, but we can only reproduce who we are. You know, you can't use the saying, do what I say, not what I do. Because they read what you do. And that speaks louder than what you say.
That's true.
So we can teach what we believe, but we only reproduce who we are. So who you truly are around your kids is what they're going to really learn, not necessarily what you teach them.
My kids are all gonna be sassy.
Sassy, or if you have a problem with temper, they're going to have a temper. If you have an issue with impulsive spending, they're going to have an impulsive spending issue. You know, they're going to pick up on whatever you model. And the third part of your responsibility is creating learning opportunities, practical experience for them. You can't just say, this is how you do it. You got to give them the opportunity to do it. So the first thing that they would learn from would be budgeting. So as soon as they are getting an allowance or earning money for chores or handling money in any form, we need to start teaching them about budgeting. So what do you think we're going to teach them about budgeting?
Well, first tithing.
Tithing, okay, put God first.
Yep.
What else are we going to teach them?
Save some, spend some.
Save some, spend some. Okay. How are they going to spend? What kind of stuff are you going to teach them about spending?
Well, you pay your bills.
Okay.
I
Your
don't think-
obligations. Yeah.
Yeah, my 15-year-old doesn't have any. So he just spends it on that.
So he needs some obligations then, doesn't he?
Yeah, but what can I obligate? Well, I guess it'll be easier once he has steady income because his income isn't steady.
Well, if he wants you to pay for a game on a monthly basis, then he should be earning enough money to pay for that game on a
Correct.
monthly basis.
Yes. Agreed.
If, if he has something else that he wants, like his phone, he should be starting to learn to pay for having a phone.
That would be nice.
You know, he has obligations too. He just hasn't been tasked with them
I guess
because
I
he
don't.
doesn't have a lot of earning capability yet.
Well, that's it. So I'm trying to convince him to take lifeguarding classes.
Okay.
That's an upfront cost.
Mm. As soon as the child's ready for school, he or she should begin to receive an income to manage. Might be small, a few quarters here and there or something, but start teaching them young and let them make some mistakes. Establish your boundaries, offer them advice on how to spend money, but give them some freedom of choice. Let them see that if they buy something that's real cheap, it's going to break real fast and they're not going to have it anymore. But they got to learn that by doing that.
Mhm.
Let them learn that they can save up to get something bigger. Put some boundaries, teach them to budget, give, save, spend. Those three together equals budget. So the second step, well, teaching shopping skills, that's in there too. And warning about the powerful influence of advertising, that's a huge one. That's a huge one because a lot of people are driven to buy based on what they see in advertisements.
Those stupid infomercials. I gotta have everything that's in them.
Yep. Infomercials. things that are on sale. People get caught up in spending unwisely. So teach the kids early. Teach them shopping skills. Let them see you wait on God instead of buying something on credit. Let them see you wait on God and save for it, because that's a powerful experience for them, because they also may be waiting for that same thing if it's something for the family. Model avoiding impulse spending. Don't just go out and buy things that aren't on your shopping list. You know, say to your kids, that looks like something that we could really use, but I'm not going to buy it today because I'm not going to buy it on an impulse, and we don't have it in our budget, or you know, whatever you need to say to them. Show them that yes, you would like to buy that and you think that would be good to buy, but we're not going to do it today. Let them see that there's a thinking process in the shopping process. Second one, giving, putting God first. Just as we said that it was important to put God first in our finances, that needs to be taught to them as well. And then third most important one is saving. Get them in the habit of saving as soon as they start getting any income, and teach them about compound interest. That should be a part of the training about saving. Maybe you could model compound interest for them. Say if they save, you know, $1 a week or whatever, that for every $1 they save, that you'll add 5 cents a week or something. You know, show them what compound interest is so that they can see the money build. And then demonstrate saving for something that the child directly wants. So help them find a goal that they're saving for, so that they can understand saving for things that way also. And then the fourth one, of course, is teach them early they don't want to get in debt, because you can drown in debt and get in huge trouble. So teach them the importance of staying out of debt, but the importance of your credit rating and how you build a credit rating, because a lot of teenagers come out of high school and they're going to get mail. First thing the companies are going to do is send them mail saying, wouldn't you like a credit card? Wouldn't you like a credit card? And they need to know before they get there what credit cards are, what interest does to debt. They need to understand all of that. And then you got to teach them the importance of work. It's pretty important to help them see that if they really want money, that they need to be working for it, and that they need to work as if they're working for God. So they need to understand that the whole value of working and how to work in a godly way. And that can be modeled too. Taking the kids to work day is a good way to model that if you're able to do that, or having them do regular daily or household chores, even if they're not getting paid for it. The value of work is an important thing to teach them. The objective is to build their character so that they will be the kind of worker that bosses would like and companies would like, because they have a strong work ethic. Your ultimate strategy is to make them be independent so that when they leave you, they will know how to manage their own finances, and they will be able to be out on their own safely. So the goal would be, by the time they're in their senior year of high school, that they would be managing their own finances, with the exception of food and shelter. That they would be having some kind of income. So they want clothes, they want games, they want whatever they want, out to eat, whatever, but they're earning some kind of income, and they're learning the value of that income, and they're learning to manage it. And grandparents can play an important role in that too, in training kids. So that's the first half of tonight's lesson. The second half, I told you, was on leaving it behind. Something we don't like to think about, but something that we need to think about enough that we protect those that are left behind. So Ecclesiastes 5:15 and also Proverbs 13:22. Those two verses.
Proverbs what?
Proverbs 13:22 and Ecclesiastes 5:15.
If somebody gets Ecclesiastes, I can have Proverbs 13:22.
Yeah, I can get the second one. What chapters and verses?
Ecclesiastes 5:15.
Oh. 5:15, you said?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm working. I have kids yelling in the back downstairs. Okay, so Lee, you want to go first? You want me to go first?
She said Ecclesiastes first, so you go first.
Okay. Okay, so deal. As he came from his mother's womb, naked shall he return to go as he came, and he shall take nothing from his labor, which he may carry away in his hand.
So that's just saying that when we die, all this worldly possessions and everything that we earned and did and kept and all that, we're not taking it with us. Somebody else is going to have to deal with it. All right, Proverbs 13:22.
A good man leaves an inheritance to his grandchildren, but the sinner's wealth is stored up for the righteous.
All right. If Christians are treating their money in a godly fashion, they will be saving and they will be leaving something behind to the kids. Even if they don't have much, they will leave something. And that's what this verse is talking about. So when
What
you
if
pass
get
away,
a house and don't want it?
what's that?
What if you're getting a house and you don't want all that responsibility? Can you give it back?
Well,
You can
your
sell
best
it.
bet, your best bet is to sell it unless you need it to live in. Because you're gonna have to pay an inherent estate tax on it. And so you're gonna want the liquidated asset potentially. All right, so when you pass away, you have a few things that you can do. You can do nothing, no plan at all. And if you don't plan at all, what do you think happens?
It depends on what assets you have. If you
Okay.
don't have any assets, not much happens. Neither of my parents had many assets, so I didn't need to do anything. It was more of like I didn't even close my dad's account because he only had like $50 in it or whatever. And my mom, she didn't really own anything either. So I didn't.
No
There-
house involved or anything.
No, so neither of them, we needed to do anything, but I have seen friends whose parents have died and they have, their parents have houses and assets and stuff, and they have to go through probate courts, and then there's fights with relatives about who gets what. And I think it's better not to have anything, because with my mom and my dad, it was just like,
Well,
they got $10 in a pot.
that's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is people that do have something, they need to plan for it.
Yeah.
Okay, so when someone dies and there's no will, the transfer property assets and all that falls to the state and follows the state statutes, and the court handles it.
Is that
If
the
you're married-
probate court?
Yeah, if you're married, most states will give the spouse all of it. If you have children, half will go to the spouse, half will usually go to the divided among the children. If the children are minors, and this is the important thing here, the court will appoint a guardian. You won't choose the guardian because you don't have a will that states the guardian. The court will choose it.
Is that if both Mike and I died or if just one of us died
If you both died
and they're a minor?
and they're a minor, the court appoints the guardian. It is critical if you have minors that you and your husband have a will because it protects the children. If for no other reason, it protects the children. So you can do nothing, you can have no plan, but there are some caveats and some things that you need to be concerned about there. You can put the title of your property and assets into a joint custody, so to speak. In other words, add your children's names onto it at some point. But there are rules around gifts. It avoids probate court and things passed directly to the survivors. But you have a limit on the maximum gift that you can give in a year, which is $15,000. Beyond that, there is a gift tax applied. So you might be avoiding the estate tax and the probate court, but your kids are going to have a gift tax. Or if the spouses don't have things in both their names, there's going to be a gift tax involved. So, it's better for spouses to have joint tenancy of property and accounts and things like that, so that there's no problems if one passes. Or you can do a will, or you can do a trust. Those are your 4 options. There are definitely disadvantages to probate court. It can take 6 months to 24 months. It's going to cost you part of the estate, 2 to 8% of the estate, and it's inconvenient and it's public. So you don't want to have to go through probate court unless you really get stuck there.
Okay, so I have a question. So if my mom, God forbid, died last year when she fell off that ladder thingy, and the house is in my name, would it still go through probate?
No.
No.
Has your name been on the house all along?
It was, but then she took me off when my credit started going bad years ago.
And then
But she said it's in, she said I'm getting it, so I don't know what that means.
Well, you're not getting it unless she has it in the will
Yeah.
or she sets up a trust. Otherwise, it goes through probate court and the court will decide. You're the only child though, right?
Yeah.
So if you're the only child, it should go to you. There's no spouse involved, but like I said, probate court takes a long time and it's going to cost something.
And you still have to pay the expenses of the house while they're going through probate.
Yes. To keep it.
Nope. They're not getting paid.
And
So-
you lose everything.
They can take the house if they want.
Then you would get nothing and end up with a worse credit score.
Yeah, that's true. I'd rather wait through probate, I think.
Yeah, so then you would assume household bills.
So if you can't pay them, you would want to have to rent the house in the interim probably to cover the costs. But it's messy, very messy. So if you're going to go down the line of a will or a trust, and even if you're not, it is very wise to have durable power of attorney. There's two types of durable power of attorney. One is power of attorney for property and finances, and the other is durable power of attorney for healthcare. In my parents' case, my sister had the healthcare power of attorney. I had the general power of attorney for property and finances. that's how we split them up, and it causes some problems, but mostly works. So the durable power of attorney for property gives you the right to deal with their assets while they're still alive if they can't take care of it themselves, and also to deal with their assets when they pass. The power of attorney for healthcare, if they are incapacitated, it gives you the right to make personal and medical decisions for them. Both of those are important. And if you want to direct healthcare for yourself at the end, you might want an advanced directive for healthcare. Under state laws, that document tells medical people if you don't want to be resuscitated, if you are in a serious terminal illness situation and you have a heart attack, you just don't want to, you don't want to have extraordinary measures done to keep you alive, kind of things. That God takes you, let him take you. So that's a DNR, do not resuscitate. So those are pieces. A couple other things that you could do are living trusts. That's what my mom decided to do at the end, which was a very wise decision. When the house was sold, Dad had been incapacitated for 5, 6, 7 years in a facility. And so Mom had power of attorney and she sold the house. And the full proceeds from the house went into a revocable living trust with herself, my sister, and I as the trustees of that trust. And any other finances that she had in accounts were also added into that trust, so that all of her financial assets were in the trust. So when both she and my dad passed, then the remaining trustees, my sister and I, were free to just divide up whatever was left. No going through a court, no talking to anybody about anything. It was set up that in the trust that when they both passed, that we would divide it equally, and that's what we did. So living trusts are great things to have. They avoid probate process altogether. They make settling the estate very easily because it's already set up with who the heirs are and how it's to be distributed. It's a great way to go. There's some other things that are more complicated, but they're for people that have huge assets. Like if you have $2 million of assets or more, then you get into some credit shelter, bypass trusts, and other things like that. So stuff that I don't think any of us have to worry about. You need to, any accounts that you have, bank accounts, brokerage accounts, mutual funds, 401ks, retirement plans, life insurance, all that stuff, you need to designate a beneficiary and keep that beneficiary list up to date, because that bypasses the court system and gives the heirs the stuff automatically. You can also do qualified personal residence trusts, where you live in your house up to a certain point that it's yours, and then it transfers to the kids, the beneficiaries, and you still have the right to live there, paying fair market rent until such a time as you don't need it anymore. But it reduces estate taxes, and the residence still is subject to a gift tax if it's over the $15,000 limit, but it makes it easy to pass the property. So that's another possibility. And if you have a lot of money, charitable gift annuities are another way to go. You can set them up with churches or nonprofits so that a portion of your estate goes directly to them. And just for your knowledge, federal and Connecticut lifetime exemption is $11.58 million for avoiding death taxes. So as long as you don't inherit more than that in your lifetime, you don't have to pay death taxes to the federal or the state level. So it's a nice thing not to be filthy rich, right? So those are the basics. You can also think about having a funeral paid for, a casket paid for, a funeral, a plot in a cemetery paid for. My parents did all of that so that we had very little cost for the funeral. You know, flowers, and things like that, but that's it. They also got to say, you know, what scriptures they wanted read and songs they wanted sung, and they had that all planned out for many years. I can remember, I think when I was in college, they had it already planned out by that point. So even before they retired, they had it planned.
But I don't know what I want. I don't care what they do with me after I die. So I don't care.
Okay. All right.
Is it a sin to be cremated?
Well, I don't think it's a problem because God can give us a new body and we don't really want the old one anyway.
I don't know why, I just thought of that.
Yeah,
So there's debate because they say that God needs to be able to resurrect us, and if that we don't have a body, there is no resurrection.
he
But
can put us back together.
this is what I'm saying. So even if you, I mean, if you think about people who probably died hundreds of years ago and who, you know, either were like Civil War time or Revolutionary War, there's probably not much left of them, you know, when they were buried like in graves or just left in fields. So, or even farther back than that. I mean, sometimes the people were just left there.
Yeah.
And so you got to think, so is God not going to be able to put them back together because the bones disintegrated or were badly damaged?
Yeah.
So
He created us in the first place. He says we're going to return to dust. So yeah, it is debated, but personally, I don't think there's a problem.
I'm
So
good.
I'm going to end our recording and then we can chat some more if we want to.